Like I had no idea that the friend I would meet would literally be like arrested. Welcome to the Make Life Beautiful podcast. This is something I've been thinking about for a while of starting a podcast. I love listening to podcasts all the time, but I never thought I'd do my own one because I never thought what my podcast will be about. And I think I finally decided because I've always been about self-growth and learning, and that's something I've been super passionate about for a long time. And I think a lot of you guys have not really heard about my life story. You don't really know a lot about like the more professional, like self-growth side of my life, because all you guys see on YouTube is literally me playing with slime, showing you life hacks, being entertaining. But I think the most interesting thing and things you guys can learn a lot from is what goes on behind that. I thought I'd start this Make Life Beautiful podcast so we can make our lives beautiful. That's actually a tagline I used in the very beginning of my career. Before I even started YouTube, I was blogging, and my tagline was Make Life Beautiful because I loved making things look aesthetic. It just brought me so much joy to make things beautiful. And beautiful doesn't always have to be about what it looks like physically good. It's like mental health. It's like inside. These are the kind of topics I want to cover. Beauty, makeup, fashion, hair, love that. But we're also going to be doing some inner work here as well. We're going to be, learning about life and just like even finance, even things about careers, how to get ahead. If you guys have followed me for a while, you're kind of at that age where that kind of stuff is useful. And the funny thing is, when I started this channel, back in the day, this particular channel, it was actually a life advice channel. And I've hidden a lot of these videos, but I used to give like interview tips and, study tips and things to help you guys, because I had really, really strict Asian parents growing up. And I wouldn't say I had a tiger mom. Maybe she kind of was a tiger mom. I'd love for you guys to leave, your questions and things you want to explore down below, because this is really for you guys. And I hope this podcast helps you guys in life. A lot of you guys on TikTok say that, I'm mom and I raised you, and I want to continue raising you guys. So let me know how I can help with my years and years of experience. Let's make life beautiful, guys. Welcome to episode 1. Episode 1, I decided will be about my first job. I've been a YouTuber since 2013. Before that, I was a blogger for a couple years. Before that, I was doing social media marketing. And before that, I was doing accounting. And before that, I was in university on a university scholarship. So I've had a lot of lives. Call me like a cat, like 9 lives. So I feel like I do have a lot to give and a lot to share for you guys. So that's a bit of context. And, I think next episode, I want to talk about kind of my vision board, and that will probably be next episode. But today I really wanted to talk about my first job, because I think it's really important to know where people started from. And I know you guys see me here today and you're like, wow, she's so, she's achieved so much. But boy, when you hear what my first job was, you're going to be like, I can do this too. So I remember my first job was when I was years old and 9 months. That was literally the legal age to get a deal. So I grew up in Australia, and a motivated kid, because I knew what the minimum working age was, waited until that age to get a job. I'm so excited about getting a job. I wanted my own money. Growing up, my parents were first generation immigrants. We didn't have a lot of money. A lot of my things were from garage sales. I'd never really got what I wanted because my parents would say they didn't have enough money. And they're probably doing the responsible thing of, saving money for a mortgage and ensuring we got to live in a nice area, even though it was a small apartment. They tried their best to provide the important things in life to them. The things that were important to me were like the latest clothes and makeup and stuff, I've always been the same. I've always loved that kind of stuff. So that actually motivated me to get my first job because I was like, I want my own money to spend. I want to be able to buy my own clothes. I want to be able to get my own stuff. And that happened at a very young age because of just being rejected of stuff. Because I think if your parents bought you everything, you probably wouldn't be that motivated to get your own job and earn your own money because it's time away from fun. It's time away from spending with your friends. It's time away from doing the things that you actually wanted to do, which is usually not work. So when I turned 14 years old and 9 months, guess what I did? I hopped straight down to my local fast food joints. I remember the first one I walked into was Burger King. I walked into Burger King at 14 years old and 9 months and was like, I want a job. Can you give me a job? And I had my resume because, I thought you'd bring in your resume. But they didn't really look at it. The guy basically sat me down and I was just like, asked me a bit of information about myself. Like, what school do you go to? What have you done before? Obviously nothing. I was 14 years old. So I try to pretend to be responsible. I was really desperate for this job. And I got it. I got my first job at Burger King. And then when I turned up for work, they gave me my uniform. I'm a small, petite person. I'm like 5'2", 158 centimeters tall. And I was very skinny at the time, much more skinny than I am now, just naturally. And I was just a small person. So these uniforms like just swum on me. I remember the short sleeve uniform in the smallest size they had. The sleeve went up to my elbows. A bit below my elbow. So it was almost like I was wearing a long sleeve top, but it was supposed to be a t-shirt. And I had this hat on that we had to wear and it was not flattering at all. I had my hair in a ponytail and just this little Asian kid wanting to make some money. So I turned up and they were like, cool, you get to have the cashier job because I think being young and a female, they wanted to put us at the front, whereas the guys were at the back making the burgers and stuff and putting the food together. And my responsibilities were to take the order, which is like press the order into the little button machines. That order went out back and they made it. And then the change thing popped out and I took their money and gave the change and the computer would calculate it and I would have to give them the right change. It wasn't complicated stuff. I'm sure all of you guys, your first jobs are somewhere kind of similar. But guys, something crazy happened at my first job. Like I had no idea that the friend I would meet would literally be like arrested. It was crazy. So story time. At my first job, after being put on the till or the cashier, I made friends with the other cashier who was really fun. They were, the first work friends I ever had and first kind of like older people I ever met outside of school. Because during school, I knew my schoolmates. And of course, people outside school were always the same age as me. We never really met anyone considerably older and younger than us. I was in grade 10, year 10 at the time. And I met this older guy. He was Asian and he was like, I would say mid-20s. He was like showing me the ropes. Like when you saw your first job, someone always shows you the ropes. And he was really fun. He would make a game out of everything. He would make jokes. He would laugh a lot. And we'd have these competitions during like when I started the shift. He'd be like, hey, let's see who can make the tallest soft serve. So we'd go and like try and make we'd twirl the little cone around, try and make as tall a soft serve as we could. And I remember making a soft serve that was literally it would have been 45 centimeters tall. I was really proud of myself that it didn't fall over. And I remember handing it to this kid and this kid was just he just looked at me like I gave him an alien. 30 cents for this cone. And I gave him this giant monstrosity because we were playing this game. I thought it was all fun and games, right? I didn't think any of it because he was there longer than me. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He wasn't the manager, but what else did I know? Anyway, so I kept going back to Burger King. I would work once or twice a week, and not too much that'll affect my studies because my parents wouldn't let me do that. But once or twice a week, they would be okay with that. And then one day he just didn't turn up to work. And I was like, what happened to this guy? Honestly, I don't even remember his name. Let's call him Ted. What happened to Ted? And everyone was like, ugh. We caught them stealing money from the cashier. And I was like, what? So they literally got fired for stealing money. And I didn't know. Like, I was so innocent. I was just like having fun with Ted. And, this other guy that he was friends with, that they got along real together, that we shared the same shift sometimes. And wow, he stole money. That was like my first experience with like kind of like theft in a workplace. And I remember kind of being shocked because I thought they were great people. I thought they were good people. I didn't question. They didn't seem dodgy at all. And that's stealing from the cashier is not something I would ever do. But yeah, they would steal coins and change and things like that, just enough that people didn't notice. Actually, what I found out they ended up doing was they would put in an order. So it would appear at the back and then the person would start making it. And then after they started making it, they would cancel the order. They would pocket that change and kind of put it aside. And that's how they would steal money. And I was like, wow, so much thought got into this. I was 14, 9 months, had no idea. I was just trying to survive my, 4-hour shift. Another life-changing experience about my first job was, I realized how hard it was to make money. Like I would stand there on my feet for 4 hours and I got paid a minimum wage because we're talking like Burger King, right? And I remember when I first started work, I got paid $5.50 an hour. And I was so excited about that because I had $0 an hour before that time. So I was like, $5.50, I'm rolling in it. This is an amazing opportunity. How many clothes can I buy after, several weeks of working? I was so excited for $5.50. So I was happy that was minimum wage at the time. And something interesting happened. Now that I look back on what they did to me, it was really, really like dodgy, but I accepted it because I was so young. I didn't know my rights and I didn't know this was wrong. But they basically, minimum wage for $5.50 is what they call a casual worker. So it means you work casually, which I was because I only got like my roster that day or the week before, and it would always change. So I was a casual worker, and $5.50 was the minimum wage for a casual worker. What they ended up doing is they switched me to part-time. Nothing changed about my work. I still turned up randomly. The shifts would change like slightly, and I would still be doing the exact same thing. But by switching me to part-time, they got to pay me $4.20 an hour instead. So the minimum wage was $5.50. That was already low. They switched me to part-time, and I made $4.20 an hour. And I remember working like 5 hours, and I would literally just get a $20 note for that whole time. And thinking back on it, I worked really hard for that money. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I was just happy to be there, but that was kind of rude. And that was kind of not right. That Burger King ended up closing down, I think probably because bad management. What can I say? My experiences there definitely like supported that. But yeah, that was my first job, guys. That was my first foray into being a working woman, to my career and everything like that. There are some good things that happened out of that job. I really like the food. I love Burger King. I don't like Burger King, but guys, I love a Junior Whopper. That is really good. And I actually got free food. I didn't know because my friend Ted, remember the Ted that used to steal money? He also used to give me free food at the end of my shift. And I didn't know that was wrong. I thought you got free food because you worked there, and that made sense. Like, thank you for working there. Here's your free food. But actually, apparently, that he was like stealing and giving me burgers for free. He would just like take it and then like be like, here you go. Goodbye. Have fun. See you next time. See you next week or whatever. And I would be like, wow, on top of my $5.50, I get free Burger King. This is awesome. So yeah, like that happened. But after he got fired, we had to stop paying for our food. So I would literally get my $20 note or whatever after working my shift of it buying Burger King. We still get like a staff discount at like 50% off. But like it just really wasn't a good deal for me. But what can you do? It's your first job. You get some experience. Now I don't really recommend working for $4.20 an hour, that is literally child labor. I was a child, I guess. So yeah, I hope that was interesting to you guys. Like, I've never really shared that on this channel. And I hope this Make Life Beautiful podcast is gonna be fun for you guys. This is episode 1. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I'm gonna be doing like different segments later on. So maybe like every week we'll do like a beauty segment. I'll share with you like my favorite stuff for beauty and what I've been using and what's good and what's not good. And like wellness and healthcare and skincare and makeup and stuff like that. And I would love to start kind of sharing like listener opinions too. So go to my YouTube channel and comment, and I will read all the comments. Memberships community, for those of you guys that love this podcast, want to contribute, want to ask questions. I think having a community vibe is so important to me. And I would love to start a YouTube. I'm going to give a bit more exclusive content onto the community. Sign up and become a member today of this Make Life Beautiful podcast. And by joining my community this week, you can get an exclusive tips and tricks video on how to kill it in your interview. I'm going to do both a video guide as well as a written guide and a checklist. Hope you enjoyed episode 1 of the Make Life Beautiful podcast. We'll be back next week for another one. I want to be doing this weekly. Turn on the notification. Follow this podcast on your streaming platform if you're on a different one. See you guys soon. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye guys. Make life beautiful.
Your spirit, mind, and body just to get me where you want me.